Still sleeping under bridges, huh? My cousin Liam smirked, tossing a crumpled $5 bill at me like a joke. Buy yourself a dream, road girl. The others laughed, the kind of laughter that sticks to your skin even after the night ends. That was last winter. The wind that night was biting through my thin jacket, the concrete beneath me colder than regret. I worked at a diner from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., then scrubbed floors at the university library till midnight. My shoes had holes. My hands smelled like bleach and coffee. HY everyone, my name is Alyssa Grant, I'm 23. And if you think you know what family means, wait until they show you what envy can do. I still remember looking through the diner window one morning, my uncle's car, black Mercedes, parked across the street. He was with his wife and my cousins, laughing over pancakes worth more than what I earned in a day. I almost waved, but then I saw Liam point at me through the glass, grinning. Look, Dad, she's serving tables now. Maybe she'll wash your car next. They all laughed. My throat tightened, but I smiled anyway, poured coffee for strangers, and whispered to myself, don't cry where they can see you. 4 weeks, I lived like a ghost among their echoes, studying under streetlights, eating half sandwiches, pretending I wasn't breaking. But fate has a strange rhythm. One afternoon, my uncle walked into the diner alone. He didn't see me at first. He just sat at the counter, scrolling his phone. I walked up, pen in hand. Table for one. I asked quietly. He looked up, and froze. The shock in his eyes was almost cinematic. Alyssa? What the hell are you doing here? The room fell silent. My co-workers stared. My uncle's watch gleamed under the neon sign like an accusation. I shrugged. Working. Like everyone else. His voice cracked a little. You living like this? Why didn't anyone tell me? I almost laughed. Because they wanted me to disappear. He leaned forward, jaw tight, and said words that would change everything. Come by the estate tomorrow. We need to talk. And just like that, the laughter of my cousins began to echo differently in my mind, like thunder before a storm. If this ever happened to you, say same in the comments. I didn't sleep that night. The city hummed around me, trucks groaning down the highway, rain tapping gently against the torp I used as shelter. Come by the estate, he'd said. His tone wasn't pity, it was confusion, maybe guilt. Or maybe curiosity, the kind rich people get when they realize someone survived without them. By morning, I'd cleaned my uniform twice in the diner's restroom sink. My shoes were still damp, but my chin was high when I reached his mansion's gate. The same place I wasn't allowed into at Christmas because, as my aunt once said, we don't invite charity cases to dinner. The guard looked at me like I was lost. I wasn't. I was finally found. Inside, marble floors reflected chandeliers that cost more than my tuition. I stood in the same living room where my cousins once showed off their new iPhones while I counted coins for bus fare. My uncle walked in wearing a grey sweater, no tie, rare for him. His face was tight, but his eyes softer than I'd ever seen. Sit, Alyssa, he said. Tell me everything. So I did. Not the sad version. The real one. About cleaning tables, sleeping near the bus stop, hiding my books so they wouldn't get wet. About pretending to have a dorm room so no one at college would find out. He listened, no interruptions, no looks of disgust. When I finished, silence filled the air like static. Then he said, you remind me of your father. He worked himself to the bone too. He opened a drawer and placed a folder on the table. This is an internship program at my company, paid. I'll cover your housing near campus. No charity, just work. You've earned it. I stared at him, heart trembling. Why now? He sighed. Because sometimes, the truth hides in plain sight. And I've been blind too long. That night, I didn't return to the footpath. But the whispers of the cousins who mocked me? I knew they wouldn't stay quiet for long. The storm was finally starting to move. The next morning, the whispers began. My phone buzzed non-stop, messages from my cousins filling the screen. Wow, Alyssa moved in with Uncle now? Must be nice pretending to struggle for attention. Guess pity pays off. She's milking it. Their laughter echoed through the family group chat, the same one I was once silently removed from. I didn't reply. Not a single word. I just stared at my new apartment, a small, sunlit space near campus with clean sheets, a desk, and a key that actually belonged to me. At the internship, I worked like I always had, quietly, relentlessly, never asking for shortcuts. My uncle's company was massive, glass walls, boardrooms that smelled of money and ego. People whispered about nepotism, but those whispers died fast when I started outperforming half the team. Every report I submitted was double-checked. Every design, every budget draft, perfect. My supervisor, Mrs. Patel, called me into her office one afternoon. "You've got grit, kid," she said, smiling. "Your uncle's watching. Not because you're his niece, but because you're good." That night, as I walked home through the rain, I passed the old diner. My reflection flickered in the wet glass, apron replaced by a blazer. I smiled at the memory of spilled coffee and sleepless nights. It didn't hurt anymore, it fueled me. But peace never lasts long when people can't stand your growth. 2 weeks later, my uncle hosted a family dinner. Just family, he'd said, which meant all of them. Liam, his siblings, my aunt with her signature perfume of fake sweetness. I almost said no, but curiosity pulled me in. When I entered, the laughter stopped. Forks froze mid-air. My aunt's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Oh look, it's our little Cinderella," she said softly. "Enjoying the castle before midnight." I smiled back, calm and unshaken. "Actually, I work here now. Midnight's long gone." The room went silent. My uncle's eyes met mine, proud, quiet, deliberate. That was the moment I realized, this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about revelation. Dinner felt like sitting inside a slow-burning fuse. The table glittered with silverware and unspoken tension. My cousins were dressed like they were auditioning for a magazine spread, but their smiles cracked every time my uncle praised me. He introduced me formally, not as Alyssa, the niece who fell behind, but as Alyssa Grant, one of our most promising new associates. I caught the flicker in Liam's eyes, the same eyes that once rolled when I offered him half of my paycheck to cover a loan. My aunt lifted her wine glass. "It's wonderful she's getting some help. But I hope it's temporary, Harold. Kids need to learn independence." I almost laughed. Independence? I had learned it sleeping on a sidewalk while her son crashed luxury cars every 6 months. My uncle's voice cut through the tension. "She doesn't need help, she's earned every bit of it." The air went heavy. Liam scoffed under his breath. "Yeah, sure, the charity project turned Employee of the Month." Something in me clicked. Not anger, not pride, something colder. I turned to him and said softly, "You'd be surprised what people can achieve when no one's buying them shortcuts." He went pale. My uncle's gaze shifted between us, thoughtful, calculating. "Alyssa," he said after a pause, "how would you feel about managing next quarter's youth outreach campaign? It's a flagship program." The room froze. That project was what Liam had been begging for all year. "I'd be honored," I replied. My aunt's glass hit the table a little too hard. "She's not qualified," she snapped. My uncle looked at her calmly. "She's the only one here who knows what struggle looks like." That night, I walked home in silence. The moonlight followed me like a witness. On my phone, another text from Liam. "Enjoy your spotlight, road girl. Let's see how long it lasts." I stared at the message, the corners of my lips lifting. Oh, it would last. And it would shine so bright, they'd have to squint to look at me. The next few weeks felt like stepping into a battlefield dressed in grace. I led the youth outreach campaign with a team twice my age, people who doubted me at first but soon realized I was not there to play. I was there to prove. Every morning, I arrived before sunrise, organizing schedules, coordinating vendors, managing budgets. I skipped lunch breaks and answered every call myself. The campaign's success rate doubled within the first month. My uncle's emails shifted from polite acknowledgement to genuine admiration. But not everyone shared his enthusiasm. Rumors started trickling through the company. Someone claimed I'd used family connections to steal the project. Then a report went missing, one I had personally finalized. Liam worked in the same building under the marketing division. I didn't want to believe he'd stooped that low, but when I checked the logs, the edits were traced to his account. I didn't report it. Not yet. I wanted to see what kind of snake I was dealing with. At the next meeting, when my uncle asked for updates, Liam interrupted. "Funny thing, Uncle, Alyssa's report vanished. Maybe she's still learning how to handle real responsibility." I met his smirk with silence. Then I opened my laptop and projected a backup version of the report onto the screen. Time-stamped, complete, flawless. You mean this report? I said quietly. The room buzzed. My uncle's eyes narrowed. How did your credentials end up accessing her files, Liam? He stammered. My aunt jumped in. It's a misunderstanding, Harold. But the damage was done. I didn't need to raise my voice. Truth, when timed right, is louder than shouting. After the meeting, my uncle stopped by my desk. You handled that with composure, he said. Your father would have been proud. As he walked away, I caught Liam's reflection in the glass wall, a mixture of anger and something new, fear. For the first time, I realized revenge didn't always need fire. Sometimes, it just needed light. The campaign became a quiet storm of success. Local news outlets began covering it, and suddenly my name was in articles, from homeless student to corporate visionary. I never asked for attention, but it came anyway, and it made the people who once mocked me flinch. One afternoon, as I packed up after a presentation, my uncle called me into his office. The city skyline glowed behind him, orange and gold. He gestured for me to sit. Alyssa, the board's impressed. They want you to take on a permanent role after graduation, full benefits, 6-figure salary. I blinked, speechless. The girl who once scrubbed floors now had her future laid out on the table like a signed promise. But before I could thank him, the office door swung open. My aunt. No knock, no shame. Harold, this is ridiculous, she snapped. You're giving everything to her while your own children are floundering. My uncle didn't even look up. Maybe because she's earning it. Her eyes darted toward me, red, sharp, trembling with jealousy. You think she's better than us because she played the poor orphan card. Something inside me hardened. I stood up slowly. I never played anything, Aunt Marla. I just stopped waiting for anyone to play fair. For a second, no one spoke. Then my uncle said quietly, Enough, Marla. If you can't respect Alyssa, you can leave. She turned pale, then stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The silence that followed was heavy, almost sacred. My uncle sighed, rubbing his temples. Families are complicated. But I'm proud of you, Alyssa. Don't lose yourself to their bitterness. That night, I walked along the same street where I once slept, now watching cars blur past like ghosts of my past life. The rain smelled cleaner. My hands didn't shake anymore. My revenge wasn't about payback, it was about becoming someone their cruelty couldn't define. Still, I had one final thing to do before closing that chapter, something that would remind them how tables truly turn. The company hosted its annual charity gala, black tie, press coverage, champagne that sparkled like arrogance in crystal glasses. The same event I used to watch online, imagining what it would feel like to belong in a room like that. This year, I didn't just attend, I helped organize it. My uncle wanted the outreach campaign's success story to be the highlight of the evening. Your work deserves the spotlight, he'd said. What he didn't know was that I had something else planned, not vengeance, but truth in the most elegant disguise. The ballroom shimmered with laughter. My cousins arrived late, dressed to impress, sneering when they saw me at the front table beside my uncle. Liam leaned in, whispering just loud enough, Enjoy it while it lasts, road girl. Cameras don't hide where you came from. I smiled. They'll show where I'm going. When it was time for speeches, my uncle invited me on stage. My heart raced, but my voice didn't waver. A few years ago, I lived on the sidewalks outside this city. I worked 2 jobs to afford 1 meal. I was laughed at, pitied, and ignored, sometimes by people in this very room. The audience hushed. Cameras flashed. I paused, then smiled softly. But one man saw through that noise, my uncle. He gave me a chance, not because of blood, but because he believed effort deserves a stage. Applause erupted. My uncle's eyes glistened. And then, the final touch. The screens behind me lit up with images from our campaign. Children we helped, shelters funded, scholarships granted. My aunt's face turned white. She wasn't in any of the pictures, but the volunteers her son mocked were. As the crowd cheered, my uncle stood and clapped the loudest. Liam sat frozen, realization dawning. This was no act of pity. It was legacy. When I stepped off the stage, reporters rushed in. Someone asked, "How does it feel to come from nothing?" I smiled. It feels like freedom. But one last conversation still waited, the one that would end the story quietly, beautifully, and completely. The gala ended long after midnight. The air outside smelled of rain and roses. I stood beneath the marble archway of the estate, the same gate I once hesitated to walk through, afraid I didn't belong. This time, I was waiting for them. Liam came out first, hands in pockets, his usual smirk replaced by something closer to defeat. "Congratulations," he said flatly. "You really made a show out of it." I looked at him, calm. It wasn't a show. It was my truth. He exhaled, staring at the gravel. "Dad's been distant with us lately. Says we could learn something from you." I shrugged lightly. "Maybe you could." He flinched, then said what I never expected. "I didn't mean for things to go that far, Alyssa. We just thought that I'd stay small." I cut in, softly. "That I'd stay under your jokes long enough to forget who I was." He didn't answer. The silence said enough. My uncle joined us a moment later, his face illuminated by the soft garden lights. "Alyssa," he said, "I updated the trust. You're officially part of the Family Foundation's board. It's not a gift, it's responsibility." Tears burned behind my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. "Thank you," I whispered. "I'll make sure every dollar reaches someone who's still out there sleeping where I once did." He smiled. "That's why you deserve it." My aunt stood in the doorway watching us, her expression unreadable, maybe shame, maybe realization. I didn't need her apology. The silence between us was enough closure. Later, I walked back to my apartment alone. The streets glowed wet under the streetlights. I passed the diner, now closed for the night, and placed a folded note under its door. "Thank you for letting me start somewhere." Then I turned toward the dawn, no anger, no hunger for revenge, just quiet clarity. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right. And in that stillness, I finally understood. I hadn't just changed my story. I'd rewritten its ending.